Hello, everybody. I know that I've mentioned this before. I know that I've shared this before. Now, Trixie Lane did have a Freedom of Information Act request that she did give me a Google link for before to share. For some reason that is broken now. It's no longer working. So for all the people that have been on my community post regarding the Gypsy Rose Blanchard case and the FOIAs that I have gotten, there's several of them, also Into the Weeds have been very generous and kind to share theirs and their email links, although I'm suggesting everybody not share or use the searchable one because I made that mistake. And there was a part in it where they were actually taking outbound and mixing them into inbound and not separating them. So if you do use that for any such reason, I would only suggest you use it unless you're trying to look up certain keywords, but be very careful because somebody asked me to look up Aurora in Alaska and I wasn't really finding much on those particular keywords, but it actually took Gypsy's outbound message and put it inside of somebody else's inbound as one big paragraph instead of two separate. So if anybody looks at that, I just want to let you know that the Trixie Lane top Google Drive to her David Blanchard interview and her Freedom of Information Act request with the jail calls, that link is no longer working. It says that the person has either taken the stuff off of there or disabled it. Some people might, because depending on the space, you usually have to pay for Google Drive, like for a monthly subscription. And I'm actually getting really tired of having to pay $10 a month for mine just to maintain all of the case files on there and to make them accessible, like the ones that I have, and all of the appeals filings, the case file stuff, crime scene, all of it, everything's on there. But I've also linked, and I've even put Good Wives Network, the link to the medical files, link to the stuff that they've recently released, the Good Wives Network, the ones that Into the Weeds have been nice enough to release. And then I have all of mine. And I have shared that multiple times in over a year now that I have put that out there for anybody that needs that. However, this is one of the things that Trixie Lane was able to obtain, and that is the interview with David Blanchard. Now, I thought this was really interesting because back in early 2024, I actually reached out to Kim and David Blanchard, and they refused to talk to anybody. I actually wanted to see if they would verify or corroborate whether or not Dee Dee Blanchard was selling her medication. And if they helped her or knew anybody, that maybe that's just a yes or no question. I don't need details. Or if they knew that that was possible, because he mentions specifically her pain medication in here. And I think that's weird because he was not provoked to even think about them or provoked to even answer in that way, which means that he knew about them. Now, remember, Gypsy's almost 24 years old at this point. So when she was messing with Dan Glidewell, she was, 19? So this is presumably about 5 years prior. So he is talking about knowing about this pain medication and this guy from about 5 years prior. I just think with the documentaries that they've been a part of and the things that they have said, we've watched Kim Blanchard say that she did not, if she knew she could walk, what else were they lying about? And that she had to come to terms with the fact that she had this capability, this evil in her to do what she did. But I think that the David Blanchard interview that Trixie Lane has is really interesting because he says some things unprovoked that nobody asks him about. And I want to play some of it.
Opioid addiction gets between you and what you love. Once monthly Sublocade may help you.
White lady wanted in real bad.
Right.
And it's like, no, just calm down, man. I'm trying to be the level-headed one. Plus, I'm the only dude there, in Southern inmates military, so I'm Mr. Protective. I look at the officer and it's like, look, you're going to cuff me if I go inside. And a vague no. I'm looking at the side of the house. So I enter the premises.
Okay, let's hold there. Now, when you asked what would happen to you?
Now, it's really important to note that in this section, of the interrogation, and I highly suggest that you guys go and watch this in its entirety. It's on the Trixie Lane YouTube channel, and she got this, from my understanding, she got this herself, went and picked it up, had paid the money for it and everything. But it's really important because it sheds some insight into what David Blanchard was thinking at that time, and the fact that he goes and speaks to law enforcement because he's so shaken up about the fact that he was in that house. I want to know how he even got his, I mean, he must be very versatile, like very agile. He must be like flexible and stuff. I have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome type 1 and type 2, and I have an egregious form of it, and my joints literally dislocate. All of them do. But I could not get my ass through a little tiny kitchen window. I don't know how he did it. Although I did notice in the crime scene photos, a lot of stuff in the sink looked like it had been moved, pushed over. So it's very well possible he did. But he was so shaken up over the fact that he goes into the house and he doesn't find her body at that time. And the fact that he's in this interrogation, for a long section of it, he's talking about how he went in there and how he stared in the room and was looking at the blankets and just didn't realize. I think that he's telling the truth because there's other people that were there as well. And the fact that he says that the deputy basically didn't give him permission to go in, but kind of turned and said, as long as if I don't see it or hear it, I don't know about it, kind of thing. And he goes in the house and he opens up the front door. And this is why when I went over casebook number 2, they're talking about getting the DNA and fingerprints from him and the other people that had went to the house. So that way, if there is DNA or fingerprints from any of the people that were trying to check the house for Gypsy or Dee Dee that day, that they would be able to know, okay, this is from when they entered into that front door. How far they really went in, I don't know. But I think it's interesting, some of the things that David Blanchard has to say. Like I said, I highly suggest everybody watch this again in its entirety because it sheds new light on everything. But let's continue.
Let me ask you this. Do you know, did Gypsy and Dee Dee, did they have a good relationship, would you say, or?
Every time you saw them together, they were mother, daughter, oh my God, we're here for each other 100%, and just, yeah.
Did Dee Dee treat Gypsy like she was, you know,
on a pedestal.
Huh?
On a pedestal.
Well, no, that's not what I'm saying. Did she treat her like she was, like, 4 or 5 years old, dress up and
Well, I don't even think, I got the impression from Dee Dee that she's not, that Dee Dee's kind of immature anyway.
Okay.
Like
she has the mentality of a...
Well, no, just that she is 100% Southern woman and wants to trust everybody.
Yeah.
Wants to have fun and play, and if
that he is describing what he thought about Dee Dee Blanchard. That Dee Dee Blanchard, not that she wasn't quite all there, but that she had this kind of, immature type of fun energy, wanted to play and socialize and talk to people, and that she was truly a Southern woman. And you know who else said the same exact thing in documentaries about Dee Dee Blanchard? Rod Blanchard. That she was the perfect Southern wife and mom. That's literally what he said about her. And remember, when Christy Blanchard talks to law enforcement over the phone, right after they find Gypsy, she literally tells them to be careful because she's a very good liar. She literally warns law enforcement not to trust Gypsy. Of course, she probably didn't know that was being transcribed in a police report, but we do have that at the time of the murder happening and right after. This is, you got to remember, from their perspective at this time, this is closer to the crime than what we are now. David and Kim Blanchard have had a lot of, I think, unfair scrutiny and conspiracy thrown at them, and I've always felt that way. But what I also do believe is that it's not a conspiracy to say that David and Kim Blanchard knew more than what they have shared. And the reason why I believe that is because he particularly brings up Dan Glidewell and the Vicodin, the opiate.
You know,
Like she has the mentality of a.
well, no, just that she is 100% Southern woman and wants to trust everybody.
Yeah.
Wants to have fun and play, and you know, if it's Disney that Gypsy's into, then we'll do Disney everything. You know, I've never seen Gypsy dressed up outside of, you know, costumes for the convention, outside of, you know, like pajamas and stuff.
Okay.
You know, sundresses.
So anytime she's dressed up, it's been for the Comic-Con
Yeah.
stuff, or.
And it's been a costume. I've never actually seen her, you know, in like dress clothes.
Okay. Well, that's what I mean,
Yeah.
costumes. Okay. But Dee Dee just put her up on a pedestal and
Put her up on a pedestal.
You know,
There was a point in time
how
when
was Gypsy?
That's real.
the Dee Dee invited me and other members of the garrison to her house to discuss future plans for Gypsy, because there was a possibility of getting her into a program, some kind of
Future plans like what?
no, it was a medical testing of some kind that might be able to help solve her stuff, but it
And that's really important because you know what? This is before Gypsy Rose Blanchard really was diagnosed with her genetic chromosome disorder. So it proves that Dee Dee not only was reaching out to supports and resources that she had available through the friends that she's made in that community that they had been living at for 9 years, you know, by the time she passes, but that she was, in fact, trying to figure out what was really happening with Gypsy Rose Blanchard. And I wonder if Kim and David Blanchard know the truth today that Gypsy Rose Blanchard truly does have a genetic chromosome disorder. And that does come with an array of different health issues that she got because of having the genetic chromosome disorder, like the strabismus, the microcephaly, sleep apnea, severe acid reflux, which she really did have. She admitted that to Kale Lowry.
what is the term I'm looking for?
I don't know, David.
It's almost
you tell
like a
us.
beta test. And that was when, you know,
We were planning our anniversary trip. Someone tried to open a loan in my name in a state I've never even been to.
I had lost my mother not too long before that, and it was like, well, I prefer quality over quantity. You know, if this is a treatment that is going to leave her, you know, worse than chemo, but give her a longer time span, then, you know, really what's the point?
Okay, so she got, you guys got together trying to set up a plan, like for.
Well, no, she just wanted our opinion, what we thought.
Oh, okay. I just your opinions
Yeah.
on whether she should do it or
Yeah.
not. Okay, I thought.
And that right there is key. That right there is really key, and it's really important because this is showing closer in time to the crime and closer in time when this happened, what Dee Dee Blanchard's state of mind was like and what she was doing, how she was handling these medical issues. The fact that she is reaching out and utilizing what supports and resources she has to legitimately try and find out what is going on with her daughter. And the fact that she does end up getting diagnosed with her genetic chromosome disorder probably answered a lot of questions why in the last few years of Gypsy's life, why they weren't seeing doctors as much, why she wasn't having as many visits or having any more unnecessary surgeries as she likes to claim, although we've gone over that multiple times, that there's really not that many surgeries. In fact, she only has the 2 scars here from the 1 surgery to have her submandibular 2 glands removed because of hypersalivation. And that was after she failed oral medication, physical therapy, another oral medication. They tried physical therapy a second time. They also did Botox injections in them to try to calm them down, all for 2.5 years before they moved to actually do a surgery to excise those and remove those 2 glands. The muscle biopsy scar is in fact, unfortunately, how they do the test of a muscle biopsy. To obtain a muscle biopsy, they have to make an incision. So of course it's going to leave a little bit of a scar, but that's not a surgical procedure. That is a test. Her feeding tube scar, of course, is going to leave a scar there. But it's not considered, it is a medical procedure, but it's not a surgical procedure. So Gypsy has very much misrepresented how many surgeries she's had and how many times she's been under anesthesia. We do know that she had her tonsils removed, but her mother Dee Dee had her tonsils removed as well. So it might not be something that's just common. It could be something that's genetic in their family. I have a lot of cousins that have also had their tonsils removed. So that I wouldn't really consider to be in this group of unnecessary surgeries. In fact, I don't see any surgeries at all that were unnecessary for Gypsy Rose Blanchard, including the feeding tube. It, like Becca Scoops has said and explained this so perfectly over and over again, that did she need it for that long? Probably not. Probably not. But we certainly have seen lots of pictures of Gypsy Rose Blanchard eating by mouth as well. So that whole lie about not eating food by mouth, and then the fact that Melissa G. Moore is interviewing her after she gets out of prison and talking about what's the first thing you ate, and she's like telling Kim Kardashian the first thing she wanted was steak, and then she's telling Ken she doesn't like steak. Like, just the amount of lies right from the get, just symptomatic of complete psychopathy, narcissistic tendencies, but that could be borderline personality disorder, histrionic, antisocial. Gypsy certainly displays those. And that's why I said if she really got a brain scan done, saw a real psychiatrist that really did a brain scan on her, it would probably be easier for them to diagnose her accurately, appropriately. But it also would be helpful if Gypsy Rose actually sat down and did, maybe actually took a lie detector test, like what Casey Anthony's parents did on the documentary, sat down and done an actual FBI administered lie detector test. Sherry Papini did it too. Turns out Sherry Papini didn't pass, but she was being deceptive. But even though it's not a conclusive thing, and people can, it's not very common, but people can sometimes fool them. A lot of times we see sociopaths, narcissists take them to try to prove like their lies are correct or that they're telling the truth, and they think they're just going to ace it, and they don't, because it's not that simple. But it is a tool to be able to tell if somebody is being honest or not, or if they're answering honest questions or not. That's why they have kind of like test placebo type questions in there. And nervousness doesn't make you just flunk it, because it's testing other things that's going on with your biochemistry and all of that. I think it would be very interesting if Gypsy Rose Blanchard actually would do a lie detector test. But of course she's not going to. She compares herself to Jesus Christ. Jesus the Nazarene, dying on the cross. That's what she compares herself to.
Maybe she was trying to get some kind, she needed maybe.
No assistance or anything, just our opinion of what we thought.
Okay. And how long ago was that?
Oh God, I don't remember. I mean, it's been some time.
So it's before she was diagnosed.
Okay.
I'm going like 3.
About
Did she ever say
3 years before
No,
that.
that never came back.
Okay.
So that would be around before she got diagnosed with microdeletion.
Talking with them and doing things with them than I do.
Yes.
I'm always wanting to do something short. Okay. Because the founder of the 501st has already posted on the 501st site about things that have been going on, training for GD and Gypsy and everything else. And so we've been duped.
We've been duped.
For the most part.
We have been duped. Yes.
All I can tell you is she can walk.
She can walk.
Does she have
She knows
some
she can walk.
medical issues? Yeah.
Does she have medical
might.
issues? Yeah.
To what extent?
She
we
might.
really don't know.
To what extent?
We're trying
we
to
really
figure
don't
that
know.
out right now.
They're trying to figure that
Could
out.
she have some serious issues? Yeah, she might. But can she walk? Yep, she can walk.
The quickest lash application you'll ever experience. Look at how easy these are to apply. Lily Lashes.
There's a lot of stuff that we're still trying to figure out. That's why we got you in here, see if, yeah. So,
We started a GoFundMe helped pay for medical costs. Or not medical costs, but funeral arrangements for Dee Dee.
You did? Or
Oh, I did.
Okay.
There's three opinions or three ways I feel this has gone down.
Okay.
And with reading the probable cause statement, one of those three is obviously true.
One of those three is
The
obviously
reason why
true.
we came down here today was because
Christy
Kim
Blanchard
has
keeps
been being
messaging
messaged
him.
by a lady claiming to be Gypsy's stepmother.
Okay.
The web page that we had set up, praying for Dee Dee and Gypsy, there have been people on there that say that they know her from Louisiana.
They know her
saying
from
that
Louisiana.
All this medical crap.
All this
is
medical
wrong.
crap is wrong.
You know, she's older than what she says
She's
she
older
is.
than what she
It's
says
all been
she
a
is.
Scam.
It's all been a scam.
And it's like, what the hell is going on here?
So that is really, really important and key. And I know that I've shared this before. I know that I have sent people, to watch this in its entirety before. But that's really important. And that's key. Because Christy Blanchard is reaching out to Dee Dee Blanchard and Gypsy Blanchard's friends and neighbors and literally telling them that this medical stuff is a scam. That she is older than what she says she is. That's what he said. That Gypsy is older than what Gypsy says Gypsy is. So that begs the question, why didn't Rod and Christy intervene in the last 9 years? Why didn't they do anything? Because neglect is the same exact thing as abuse, right? But Dee Dee, this is the craziest thing with Gypsy. Dee Dee gets the brunt of everything. Even has her life brutally and heinously taken from her. But Rod Blanchard gets a pass. He can go around cheating on every woman, including cheating on his wife Christy, which he has done as recent as just a few years ago. He did it to Dee Dee. He did it to Nicolette's mom. Does it to his current wife. And everybody makes excuses for that. Everybody makes excuses for that. There's no excuse to be a piece of shit dad. There's no excuse to be a piece of shit husband or a piece of shit boyfriend. There's no excuse for sleeping around and impregnating everybody and then treating your children that way, neglecting them, and then pointing the finger at a murder victim and saying that it's all her fault. That it's all her fault. I can guarantee you it wasn't all her fault. I can guarantee you right now, because it's been over 2 years and 2 months, and since I've been talking about the Gypsy Rose Blanchard case and before she even got released, and I've seen a lot of people come and go. I've seen content creators cover it, content creators come and go. I have seen a lot of Gypsy's on friends come and go. I've seen other so-called victims that weren't even victims come and go. I've seen a lot of things. Regarding Gypsy Rose Blanchard. But I do know one thing is for certain. Gypsy Rose Blanchard was walking behind closed doors. She was walking behind closed doors. And I would challenge her to take a lie detector test on that. That she was walking behind closed doors. She was eating behind closed doors. You can look at the kitchen. You can look at the types of dishes. You can look at everything in those crime scene photos. Gypsy Rose Blanchard was eating food by mouth behind closed doors. She was doing it sometimes in public too. Did it on a plane, did it at Disney. We have seen her do it at hospitals. When she had her tonsils removed, very next morning, she's got a whole bunch of soft foods, 20 different options to choose from. Gypsy Rose Blanchard was walking behind closed doors. Gypsy Rose Blanchard was eating behind closed doors. Dee Dee Blanchard didn't have Munchausen syndrome by proxy. And she's never been diagnosed with Munchausen syndrome by proxy. Dee Dee Blanchard has never been diagnosed, or has she been charged or found guilty in a criminal court nor a civil court for any kind of abuse or neglect on an adult, or any kind of abuse or neglect on an adult, child, or an adult dependent. None. She's never had any charges for neglect or abuse. But the one thing that we do know is that she was heinously murdered in her own home, in her own bed, in her sleep, behind a closed and locked door. Because her daughter lied and told everybody that she was being abused and she was being forced to sit in this wheelchair. We do know from the time she was 18 to the time she was 24, she was actively participating in the scamming and the conning and the grifting, whatever that might have been. But like I've broken down before, if Gypsy and her mom truly were low income and were honest about their low income status, and they are receiving help from any charities based on an honest low income status, is that a lie then? No, because they genuinely need the help and they're being honest about their low income status. How did Dee Dee get a whole bunch of thousands of dollars in her safe? I don't know. Could it be that she had been selling her opiates? I think, in my own opinion, I don't have any proof of this, but I think David Blanchard knows this firsthand as a witness. And I think his wife does also. If they were not helping as a middleman, I think it's very possible that they know about the Vicodin and the Norco, that the hydrocodone that Dee Dee Blanchard was getting, because like a lot of people, they get it and they end up selling it. I think that's the reason why he mentions it in this particular interrogation tape. And he mentions how Dan Glidewell had coerced Gypsy. And then Dee Dee is so upset. Oh, she's growing up. She's getting curious about boys, etc., etc. I think that he mentions that Dan Glidewell, you know, in the pain pills, because he knew that Dan Glidewell was manipulating Gypsy to get those pain pills from her, or to get her to steal them to give to Dan. And they conveniently leave that out, but I'm telling you, they don't want to say it because they don't want to make Dee Dee or anybody else look bad. But you know, there's a lot of people that have done that. The opiate epidemic and crisis that started in the mid to late 90s, a lot of people got addicted because of pain pills. And a lot of people were doing that. They were sharing them or they were selling them. And people today still do exactly that. So I don't think it would have been beyond what's logical that he has the thought of Vicodin or Norco or opiates of somebody else's prescription in his brain, and something that happened almost 5 years prior. If he didn't know about them and he wasn't some middleman, or he wasn't somebody that was possibly involved in helping Dee Dee to sell them to somebody who does take them and is purchasing them. You know what I mean? That type of thing is not uncommon. Eminem's own mother used to do that same exact thing. Same exact thing right here in Detroit. She was struggling for many years with addiction. Not going to go into all the details about that, but we know for a fact that she used to purchase them from other people. So it's a story that most addicts can tell you, that, yeah, they know somebody that sold their medication, or somebody that was a middleman that would help that person sell their medication. So-and-so's grandma gets these opiates, but they don't take them. They take one every month if they have to do a urine test or whatever. And then they get their 90, 3 a day, or their 120, 4 a day, and then they sell them. I think that's the reason why he mentioned it, because there would be otherwise no reason for him to know what medications Dee Dee Blanchard is being prescribed, or the fact that Dan Glidewell might have been coming around and coercing Gypsy, because I think that's the story. Gypsy sold her mom. I think Gypsy was really taking them, not because she was probably taking them, because she probably wanted to know what's everybody buying these for, what's this interest in it, and she probably figured out, oh yeah, this is a great high, this is fun. It's like how a lot of addicts start. But I think that he knows more than what he's saying in relation to that. I truly do. I truly believe that. And that's where it's so hard to really piece together, you know, the puzzle and everything, because all you're getting is Gypsy's side, and Gypsy's side is just covered in a whole bunch of lies and inconsistencies. She answers questions based on what she thinks is going to make her look good, or make her look more like a victim, and not objectively true. That, yes, I was, you know, she's never said, yes, I was walking behind closed doors with my mom. She knows she was. We know she was. Would she take a lie detector test? Like an FBI administered lie detector test? You know, somebody that was actually trained with the FBI that administers them today, like what Casey Anthony's parents did. I don't know. But I'd be really interested to know if Dee Dee Blanchard really was, that's how she got a large bulk of her money, because I don't think all that money she saved was her little nest egg. I don't think it specifically all came from Rod. I really don't. She had to fight him for child support, and then he was back late on child support, and then he was telling everybody he was giving, like, in Casebook too, when I started going through it, you know, Christy Blanchard saying he's giving them $1,100 a month. And Rod says, I'm giving them $1,200 a month. And I don't really know because my wife takes care of it. And somebody else says it's only $600 a month. I don't know. There's a huge discrepancy between paying somebody $600 a month, $1,100 or $1,200. And there's a discrepancy between what Christy said and what Rod said. So I don't think she would have that much money saved just based on her own Social Security disability or income, or Gypsy's disability or income, and Rod's child support, especially if she was paying bills and, you know, just put a down payment on a new car. So I think that's really interesting that he brings up the pain medicine. Now, I've gone over this before, but I really wish that somebody would just tell it as it is, because, you know, that would be a more honest representation of what was really happening and really going on. But it also begs the question, I don't know, maybe he doesn't want to come forward. I don't know if him or his wife might not have been dabbling in that. I don't know if maybe they were taking it themselves. I don't know. But opiate addiction is something that has touched close to 50 million people out of 340 million American citizens. And I'm going to tell you right now, I have a cousin who died in 2009 from AIDS. I have a cousin who died exactly a year later in 2010 from AIDS, and he left his wife and 3 kids behind. I have an uncle who died from hydrocodone from Norco in 2013, and he died in my arms. Opiate addiction is something that has affected pretty much every family. I have friends that have died from AIDS. I have friends that have died from hydrocodone, Norco, aka Vicodin. I know a lot of people that are no longer here because of opiate addiction, myself. So people that are in recovery, people that are on MAT, people that have gone through the absolute fucking hell of making it on the other side, I fucking applaud you, because you are the strongest, most amazing human beings for being able to get through it and for being able to go on your own recovery journey. And I'd much rather trust a recovered addict or an addict that is honest than somebody who is holier than thou and acts perfect but is corrupt behind closed doors, or is lying, or a convicted murderer who does nothing but lie for her own financial gain. Just saying that. And if you really want to think about it in context, 1 out of every 7 people in the United States of America aged 12 and up have substance use disorder. 1 out of every 7. That's almost 1 out of every household, every just family, you know, thinking about that in that context. There's no family, no person that has not been touched by alcoholism, by substance use disorder, no matter what the substance is, opiate use disorder. And that is a broader conversation that needs to be had, because Gypsy Rose Blanchard admits that she herself had an issue with Vicodin, with Xanax, with Suboxone. Before her crime, when she was 19, around the time of her crime, and while she was in prison after her crime. So I think it's really hypocritical and fucking gross what she did to Ryan and what she did to Ryan's brother, putting out there that they're on MAT. Now, it doesn't matter if they're on MAT. That's their business to say or not say, or what it is that they are on. It's hypocritical that she did that, knowing that she had an issue with Vicodin, Xanax, and Suboxone. Something he found from Children's Mercy Hospital, an article
about them.
About them.
And even once you turn the page, it even talks about the doctor.
When you turn the page, it talks about the doctor. Here's the part I want to go over. Let's get through this ad.
This one's for everyone who
Fucking
begged us
ads.
to bring back Pinky Bronze. It's our best-selling Miracle Bomb shake.
Hold on.
And now,
Well, go give her all the ad revenue. I don't care.
2011, there was a Danny Glidewell. Does that name come up at all?
Danny Glidewell, 2011.
I think
Did that come up
said
at all?
something About that Sunday.
I think you
the
said
name
something
sounds
about that
familiar,
Sunday.
Okay.
Name sounds familiar.
He basically coerced Gypsy.
He
With
basically
romantic intentions.
coerced Gypsy with romantic
And to
intentions
take money. This is what I heard from
to take
Dee.
money, what he heard from Dee Dee,
Everything. But took money.
took
a cab
money,
to
took
his
a
house.
cab to his house.
So, initial theory was that
The initial theory
Gypsy's growing up,
was that Gypsy's growing up.
curious, and got suckered in by somebody.
She's curious and got suckered in by
Knows
somebody.
they have pain medications, so it's
Who knows? They have
Easy
pain
motivation right
medications.
there.
So it's easy motivation right there.
And then after discussions last night, the other that we've just all been duped.
And the other theory from last night is that we've all been duped. David Blanchard, Kim Blanchard, I'm here to tell you right now, you were duped. You were duped. Gypsy found Dan Glidewell allegedly from those Vision Con conventions she was going to. Allegedly. I think she found him online myself. And that she had found him through Facebook friends that attended those events, or that she saw him at an event and then started Facebook stalking him. Because we know Gypsy still likes to do that kind of stuff today. She likes to cyber stalk. And she likes to cyber harass people. But the fact that he brings up the pain medication, is that based on what Dee Dee told him, or is that based on that he knows more? Because we know one thing's for sure. Dee Dee Blanchard was covering for her daughter. Not because she had Munchausen syndrome by proxy, but because she didn't want it to come out that her daughter was doing these things behind her back. Because there's no way. She was making excuses for her bad behavior. That's what she was doing. The same way she made excuses for her when she literally took a high velocity BB gun and pumped all these rounds into her mom. She covered for her and lied that somebody had tried attacking them at Walmart. And yet the police never pull CCTV footage from Walmart. You know, their stuff is on a continuous loop for 60, 90 days now before it wipes and re-records for the next. But no, she tells that to the ER when she goes to the ER to get medical treatment. Whether or not they were mandated to contact law enforcement about that or, report it is beyond me. But the fact is Gypsy Rose Blanchard had been displaying this negative, bad behavior for a very long time. And I don't think her mom realized just how dangerous she was. And it's really sad because her life was taken because of it. And Gypsy Rose Blanchard does nothing today but continuously just slander her mom, lie about her victim, and lie about what really happened inside of that house. And I can guarantee you, the moment that her and Ken split up, she's going to start saying a whole bunch of bad shit about Ken. That he was controlling, he didn't like her being on social media, that he was constantly worried about everybody and everything on social media, that he wanted her to partake in more shows and wanted to go and get a different network to pick them up and do a totally different show. And he was controlling over the baby, and he was controlling over what she could do and what she could wear. Watch, she's going to do that same shit she did to Ryan. I bet you. She also posted this really cute picture of Parker. But we know what Gypsy Rose Blanchard likes to do with animals because her and her mom went through so many pets. I went over that in early 2024. Going through all the different pets, and I show a whole bunch of pictures of the Blanchards' pets and why they kept getting all these dogs. They had this beautiful Boston Terrier named Henry, then he's there and he's not. He's just disappeared. The Toads disappeared. Cats, no cats. Cats, no cats. When arguably, in the 9 years that they were there in Missouri, they should have still had Henry and the same cats, because you should keep your pets for the duration of their life, no matter what. But she also posted this. Her dream journey, and it's a little crazy looking picture of what's supposed to be the Northern Lights, and it says, "Dear Ken, dream as big as the sky. Someday we will see the lights and the world. Hugs, Gypsy Rose, 2017. That's what she literally posts. And it says, "It still amazes me that the things I once sketched in silence behind stone walls, it still amazes me. I'm going to do this. It still amazes me. The things I once sketched in silence behind stone walls are becoming real memories. God gave me a second chance, and I'm finally free to live the life I used to only dream about. The northern lights, the world, love, all of it. What was once imagination is now a future. I get to live with Ken by my side. Insert heart emoji here. Alaska, 2026, has been years in the making. Grateful doesn't even begin to cover it. God has given her a second chance. Or has he delivered her ultimate social karma? I don't know. I don't know. You tell me. You tell me what you think down in the comment section, because I'm really curious. I'm just really, really curious how she could talk about the Northern Lights with 3 different fucking people during the time she's incarcerated for 8.5 years. Or the fact that she can murder somebody, stab them 17 times in their back, and, pretty much decapitate them and get out with barely a slap on the wrist. But her degree of narcissism and sociopathy and psychopathy is just proof that Mike Stanfield is an idiot, and he shouldn't have bartered the sweetheart plea deal with his little buddy Dan Patterson just to, make themselves look good. Meanwhile, in September of 2024, they put a whole entire, man, Marcellus Williams, to lethal injection. But then they let Gypsy Rose Blanchard out. Not even 9 months earlier. Yeah. Crazy. Crazy how Missouri can get it so wrong sometimes. But I'm sure that's not unique to Missouri. I'm sure every state has had cases where they've gotten them so wrong and botched the case for political reasons. But it would be interesting to see what they have to say now, knowing that Gypsy Rose Blanchard wasn't a victim the way that she says she was a victim, that she was walking behind closed doors, and we know she was because her muscles on her legs never atrophied. And if she was immobile for 9 years and forced to stay in a wheelchair, she wouldn't have been able to say something like, I knew I could walk. I always knew I could walk, because she wouldn't have been able to walk if she was forced to sit in a wheelchair for years. Her legs would have started to atrophy after 24 hours of immobility. So we know for certain that Gypsy Rose Blanchard walked behind closed doors with her mother all the time. And I would bet if she took a lie detector test, she is going to fail that question if she answers it with a lie. I can guarantee it. Gypsy Rose Blanchard was in on all of the shit her and her mom were doing, pretending that she was paralyzed and that she was sick. Some people do believe the conspiracy that she had her mom believing that she was paralyzed from the age of 6 after her surgery. But we do know that Dee Dee found out around the time she was 19 and tried running away that Gypsy truly isn't paralyzed, and she got feeling back in her leg. Yeah. All of this really comes down to the actions, words, choices, and behaviors, lies of Gypsy Rose Blanchard. But explain that. Who wants to see her take a lie detector test? Ooh, I do. Anybody else interested in Gypsy Rose Elcida Blanchard taking a lie detector test? Because I certainly am. I would love to see the results of that. In fact, I have a couple questions I would like the person who administers it. I have a few questions I would like them to ask. What questions would you ask her? Leave them down in the comment section. Love you all. I will catch you all on the flip side. Oh, and don't worry. P.S. We will continue with casebook number 2 very soon.